Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're diving into a genuinely brilliant historical deception. I mean, picture this. An esteemed 18th century French botanist is out wandering around the untamed American wilderness. To anyone just casually watching, he's just a guy totally obsessed with finding rare plants. But hidden right beneath that innocent cover was a massive geopolitical secret, and he was hiding it right under the noses of America's founding fathers.
Which really brings us to a fundamental question, right? Was André Michaux primarily a man of science, or was he a secret agent? It's this crazy dual identity that makes his story one of the absolute most thrilling chapters in both botanical science and international diplomacy. Now, to understand exactly how he pulled this whole thing off, we've got to start at the very beginning and look at his incredibly humble origins.
Part 1. Roots of a Botanist.
So Michaux was born way back in 1746, right near Versailles. Actually, he was pulled out of school when he was just 14 to learn farming. But the thing is, he had this profound natural talent for cultivating incredibly challenging plant species. It was a real gift, and this genius eventually caught the eye of King Louis XVI's inner circle. Fast forward to 1779, he's studying at the world-famous Jardin des Plantes in Paris. And just a few years after that, his expertise earned him a monumental assignment, a royal mission to North America. Now, you have to remember that France in the late 18th century was in severe economic distress. On top of that, their forests were heavily depleted. So Michaux wasn't just sent to America to collect pretty flowers. No, his mission was highly strategic. He needed to find robust American timber to reforest French lands and ultimately rebuild a powerful French navy.
Part 2. Exploring the American Wilderness.
To process the sheer volume of plants he was collecting over there, Michaux basically invented the precursor to the modern plant nursery. He built these massive experimental gardens. First, he set up a 30-acre plot in New Jersey, and later, a sprawling 111-acre estate down in Charleston. These were his botanical headquarters. Think of them as living laboratories where he tested which American species could actually survive the treacherous voyage back across the ocean to Europe.
But Michaux didn't just hang out in the comfort of his gardens. He threw himself into the absolute extremes of the North American landscape. We're talking about going from the sweltering, incredibly humid environment of the Savannah River down south, all the way up to the freezing, rugged terrain of the Gatineau River in Quebec.
The sheer, exhausting scale of his expeditions is honestly hard to overstate. He navigated the tropical heat of Florida and the Bahamas, he trekked through Cherokee territory, and he pushed through these punishingly cold canoe portages up the Saguenay River. His passion for discovery literally knew no bounds. In fact, it eventually led him all the way across the globe to Madagascar, where he passed away in 1802.
Part 3. Botanical Discoveries and Masterpieces.
Out of everything he found, two of his most vital discoveries really stand out. First, there's the spectacular Magnolia macrophylla. It boasts the largest leaves and flowers of any North American tree. It's just stunning. And then there's the bur oak. Remember that French naval mission we talked about? Well, the incredible strength and flexibility of bur oak wood made it one of his absolute most prized finds for maritime construction.
But you know, his work was very much a two-way street. The next time you see a ginkgo tree, a crepe myrtle, or a camellia in an American neighborhood, you can likely thank Michaux. He was largely responsible for introducing these European and Asian species and naturalizing them right here in North America. All of this relentless exploring culminated in an absolute mountain of data. His 1801 publication meticulously classified 20 different species of oaks. And his posthumous masterpiece, Flora Boreali-Americana, that documented over 1,700 plant species. It wasn't just a simple catalog. It was a foundational text that is literally still referenced by horticulturalists today.
Part 4. Espionage in the New World.
Okay, so while he was out exploring the frontier, Michaux was tasked with a highly secretive, incredibly audacious mission. He was supposed to rally American frontiersmen to stage an armed insurrection against Spanish-controlled New Orleans. The grand goal here? Seize Louisiana, establish an independent republic, and expand French influence. And historical records actually suggest Thomas Jefferson may have had some tacit sympathy for this plan, likely sensing a strategic opportunity for American westward expansion. Honestly, his overt mission provided the absolute perfect cover story. After all, who suspects the guy staring intently at oak leaves of being a secret agent? His continent-spanning expeditions allowed him to freely map strategic terrain, evaluate vital waterways, and assess local populations. He was gathering critical geographical and diplomatic intelligence for France, completely in plain sight.
Part 5. A lasting ecological legacy.
Despite all the wild espionage, Michaux's ecological foresight was generations ahead of its time. He passionately championed the idea of the ecological reserve, which is a protected area kept entirely in its natural state. During an era of incredibly aggressive logging, he was one of the very earliest voices warning people that forests were not inexhaustible and that they desperately needed to be managed if they were going to survive. And thankfully, those early warnings resonated deeply. In the late 19th century, botany professor Joseph T. Rothrock actually used funds inspired by Michaux's legacy to spark the entire forestry movement in Pennsylvania. This direct line of influence led state legislatures to acquire threatened lands, which ultimately evolved into the professional, sustainable forest management that we totally rely on today.
To put that into perspective, one of the greatest living tributes to his vision is the Michaux State Forest in Pennsylvania. Spanning over 85,500 acres of the Blue Ridge Mountains, it is a massive haven of biodiversity. But it's not just a museum. It's a dynamic, working landscape that honors his exact ideals by beautifully blending sustainable timber use with the preservation of wildlife. And heading way up north, the André Michaux Ecological Reserve in Quebec safeguards over 1,000 acres of rare hardwood forests and vulnerable species, like the showy orchid. It serves as both a strict conservation area and a living laboratory, which is exactly what he would have advocated for over 2 centuries ago.
Which brings us to the end of this explainer. But I want to leave you with this pretty provocative question to think about. How much of our early understanding of the natural world was secretly shaped by the geopolitical ambitions of empires? André Michaux's unbelievable dual legacy as a pioneering botanist and a clandestine spy is a great reminder that history is rarely just one thing. It really leaves us to wonder what other secrets are hiding out there in the roots of our scientific past. Thank you so much for joining me, and keep exploring.